In this lesson, we're going to talk about customary and metric measurements and the different types of tools that you'll use for both. First, we're going to talk about customary. And customary is the unit of measurement that we use in the US. Everywhere else in the world is metric, but we use customary. So when we're looking at this, we're going to be looking at three different things, and we're going to draw some boxes. We're going to look at length, capacity, and weight. So I'm going to make some sections here, kind of leave more room in the middle because we'll need more to write. So when we're looking at length, always be thinking on these word problems and questions, what am I measuring? If you're measuring distance or how long something is, you're in this length section. So for customary problems, we're going to use inches, feet, yards, and miles. You're always going to be given a conversion chart for these problems, so don't worry about memorizing each individual conversion. By the time we get done, you'll probably have most of them memorized. What tools do we use for this? So our tools are a ruler, yardstick, measuring tape, a trundle wheel, and a trundle wheel, it looks like a stick with a wheel here at the end of it, and when you walk it clicks and it counts up the feet or yards that you've gone. And then we have one more, an odometer. And an odometer is something we use on cars to measure how many miles are on the car or how many miles you've gone. So that covers it for length. Customary length conversions are always going to be in these denominations. For capacity, when you see capacity, you're thinking about how much something can hold. I'm thinking water bottles, measuring cups, fish tanks, things like that. So when you're doing capacity, you're looking at how much something can hold. For customary problems, we're going to be using gallons, quarts, pints, cups, fluid ounces. We could also use tablespoons, but we don't use these in the math problems as much because tablespoons and teaspoons have a certain amount of fluid ounces, so they kind of fit under fluid ounces when you're using those. But when you see tablespoons or teaspoons, think about a recipe. You're only measuring a very small amount. For this, we use measuring cups and again different kind of spoons. Sometimes droppers will have fluid ounces on the side, But most of the time the droppers are in metric, but every once in a while you could have something that might measure fluid ounces. This is going to be a really small amount. Most droppers, however, are metric. And then the last one we're going to talk about is weight. This one's a little bit more simple. There's not as much to it. With weight, we're looking at how heavy something is. And you've all gone to the doctor's office and been weighed at some point in your life. So how heavy something is. At the grocery store, they have scales in all of the produce department to weigh produce and vegetables. So for weight, we're looking at how heavy something is. For customary problems, we're only dealing with ounces, pounds, and tons, the big one. Most of the time we're going to be sticking with these first two because there's not a lot of things we weigh in tons. We're going to be using a scale to measure. A lot of you have these at home. Sometimes a spring scale is measured. Think about the grocery store pans. Those are spring scales, and you put your produce in the little bin and it tells you how much it weighs. So that covers customary. Now we're going to talk about metric real quick. We're going to draw the same boxes again on another page. Again, customary is what we use in the US. Metric is what is used all throughout the world. I usually get a question as to why we use something different. That is a great question that I don't know the answer to. But we're going to look at length first. Again, length, think long, how long something is. For metric conversions, have millimeters, centimeter, decimeter, meter, kilometer, and decameter. And we're going to talk about how we convert to all these different units in a separate lesson. But for tools, we're going to use a meter stick, a trundle wheel, and these are special types of trundle wheels that are only metric, and odometer would work as long as you live in Europe or someplace with cars set up for metric kilometers. So the cars overseas, instead of measuring how many miles your car has gone, they're going to measure how many kilometers your car has gone. So it's just a little different depending on the country you're in and what they use. Then for capacity, we've talked about this already in science a lot. With capacity, we're looking at how much it can hold. Think about your science projects and what we've done so far this year. In science, we always use metric conversions, milliliter, liters, kiloliters, and again, I can have the same prefix on all of these. So when you see a big L or a ML, that's going to be metric capacity. With millimeter, your little MM, your CM, your DM. We're going to talk about abbreviations when we do that lesson later next week. Some tools that we use, beakers and graduated cylinders. And droppers again. Then for weight, we're going to use grams. Milligrams, grams, kilograms, it's a big one. But if you think about what a gram is, think about like a packet of sugar. At a restaurant, a packet of sugar is about 1 gram. So that's about what you're dealing with when you're only using grams. And again, our tools are a balance scale. And triple beam balance, which we've used this year in science. On your weight, the abbreviation is going to be a little g, but kilograms would be like a kg, and we're going to go over abbreviations again later.